Or actually, you know what? Let's start with the Al-Shifa hospital, and then we'll get to the other stuff. Because after multiple days, 2 weeks now, of on-the-ground invasion in Gaza, and multiple days of directly sieging the largest hospital in northern Gaza, Al-Shifa, the Israeli occupying force has finally went inside the hospital.
We're still relying on some eyewitness accounts from inside the hospital that tell us how in the dead of night Israeli forces entered. There were, they say, 6 tanks that went through into the front of the compound, more than 100 commandos, some of them masked, who were shouting in Arabic, don't move, as they entered the emergency department. There was also someone from the Hamas-run health ministry who was speaking a short time ago in another television interview who said that Israeli forces had gone down into the basement of the hospital. This, of course, is where Israel has been saying consistently that it believes that Hamas has an underground tunnel complex it's been using, as well as some of the buildings of the hospital, it says, as a kind of command and control center. That is denied by Hamas, but also by the medics who work at the hospital.
Is it true that Israel built the tunnels under the hospital themselves in the 80s and 90s? Yes, there's a basement structure and a network of tunnels, just like there's a network of tunnels that exists in every other hospital. There's service tunnels, for example. So, like, it's not out of the ordinary to have a basement in a hospital. Yes, this hospital, of course, has a basement and a tunnel structure underneath it. And yes, it has been documented since the 80s that exists. The tunnel structure exists under the hospital because Israel built it. Obviously, yeah, American high schools have fallout tunnels in major cities. American hospitals have major tunnel systems underneath it. Perfectly valid thing to have underneath a goddamn hospital. Doesn't mean that there's terrorists in there, okay? I went from the ER at the University of Chicago Hospital to the OR via underground tunnels. Yep, there you go. A lot of terrorism happening in those tunnels. Anyway, very stupid stuff. But here's the Israeli Defense Forces propaganda, which we're going to be looking at now. We took a close look at this one-shot video from the IDF released at the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza and shared in a tweet linked below. Despite stating that this video contains no edits, there's a clear edit in this mark. We have isolated the edit here.
One-shot video. One shot, no editing of all of the evidence that we have found just now in this building.
Now, here's the thing. Before they, went into the Al-Shifa hospital, they claimed that there was possibly hostages in the hospital, despite the fact that there was no evidence to state that there were hostages in the hospital. But they said that regardless. Why did they say that? Well, because they wanted to justify sieging the hospital. Now that they've actually entered the hospital and found no hostages, they immediately backtracked on that statement and even said to Israeli outlets that, they don't think that there are any hostages inside of the hospital. But that didn't stop the American government from repeating this statement. Oh, here it is. Tweet from yesterday about there being a headquarters and hostages under the... Yeah, here. Breaking. White House's John Kirby says the U.S. has its own independent intelligence that shows Hamas and PIJ are using Al-Shifa Hospital and other hospitals for holding hostages and for military activities. Breaking 1 day later. Just kidding. One must ask itself why Israel keeps claiming these things and then turning around and having the American State Department independently verify those erroneous claims, only to backtrack 24 hours later. Kirby added that Hamas is a command and control center in Al-Shifa hospital. He said the U.S. doesn't want the hospital to be bombed and doesn't want to see a firefight at the hospital. But remember, I am a streamer after all. I can get certain things wrong. But you know who is consistently getting things wrong on purpose? They walked back the proof. Well, 24 hours later, breaking. A senior Israeli official said that the purpose of the IDF operation at the Al-Shifa hospital wasn't to rescue hostages, but to locate and expose a Hamas tunnel hub that connects the hospital with other parts of the Gaza Strip. But it's on, please, dude. One last hospital siege, dude. This one is different. You have to let me, dude, please. Genuinely, why do they even backtrack statements at all? Like, why bother? I mean, at this point, it's just still to maintain a presence of seriousness, because you still need that legitimacy, right? But the reality is that it doesn't matter, because no one punishes Israel nor the American State Department for lying regularly. I mean, look at the hypocrisy here. Here's perfect representation.
Never let the crimes Russia's committing become our new normal. Bucha is not normal. Mariupol is not normal. Irpin is not normal. Bombing schools and hospitals and apartment buildings to rubble is not normal.
Yeah, I mean, when Russia does it, it's not normal. When Israel does it, it's normal and good.
Shalom everyone, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan from the IDF here. I am in the Shifa hospital, as you can see from the sign behind me, and as you can clearly see from the building, we are going to do a one-shot video. One shot, no editing, of all of the evidence that we have found just now in this building. So we're inside the MRI center of the Shifa hospital. Israeli troops breached here a few hours ago, and we have cleared the area, make sure that it's safe. And a few of the most interesting things that we have found totally confirm, without any doubt, that Hamas systematically uses hospitals in their military operations.
One must ask themselves, why is this guy speaking in English? What's the real purpose of this video, I wonder? The no edit cuts video has an edit at 626. I mean, it doesn't even matter that there's edits in it, man. It doesn't matter. It's like they literally are going into the video. We don't know what they've done prior. They don't have actual journalists, or the ones that they have embedded with them, they don't allow to reveal whatever kind of information they want to reveal. They check everything that, like, Western journals that are embedded with the IDF, who are already probably sympathetic. You know what I mean? To be fair, a large portion of the Israeli population speaks English as well as Hebrew, so it's not surprising to see the English off the cuff. It's still propaganda, but it's in complete shock. No, brother, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because no Israeli military spokesperson is doing this for the Israeli population. Anytime you hear any kind of sentiment coming directly from Israeli accounts that is not written in Hebrew is because they do not care about the Israeli population hearing that stuff. They are doing it specifically so the Western world reads into it and makes up their mind on it. And the same principle goes for why the aid, the boxes that they had labeled outside of the hospital had been labeled medical supplies in English. 14% of the Gaza, 14% of the Palestinian population of the Gaza Strip speaks English. And I don't want any arguments on this because, like, they already have an Arabic account specifically for messaging that they want to pump out to either the Palestinian citizens inside of Israel or the Palestinians outside in the occupation, in the occupied areas, and the rest of the Arab world. That account is used to antagonize Arabs in general. The IDF deleted the video. Wait, the video that we're watching right now, they deleted it? No shot. What?
This is where patients come in order to get MRI services. We'll proceed into a more secluded area. And the lighting here is out, so we're using flashlights. We're now, as you can see...
By the way, you can't store weapons next to an MRI machine because, you know, this is what happens. So I don't know why they, like, said that this was, these were weapons being stored in the room or whatever next to the MRI machine, or I guess, like, it's far
in an
enough.
MRI room. I don't know when this was used the last time. But it is definitely an MRI machine. And if you follow me behind the MRI machine, I'll show you what our troops exposed just minutes ago. In military terms, this is a...
Bro, this is what I mean. It's like, dude, that's so stupid. Like, just put it anywhere else. Like, what are you doing?
A grab bag, grab and go of a Hamas combatant. And if you zoom in and we get some light over here, what you will be able to see is military equipment. There is an AK-47, there are cartridges, ammo, there are grenades in here, of course uniform, and all of this was hidden.
The other part of this is that, like, they have uniforms there, right? Palestinian militants don't use uniforms when they're fighting in their own territory, okay? When they're fighting against the Israeli occupying forces inside of Gaza, they don't wear uniforms. I don't know why this is a uniform bag here that they found. That also doesn't make sense. One, under international law, as long as they're clearly defined and armed, spontaneous militia arming in retaliation to an invasion is actually legal. They only wear the uniforms when they're shooting propaganda footage, when they're shooting, like, ads basically for the militancy, when they're shooting like training videos and stuff like that. They don't use, or when they're actually when they were doing the operation on October 7th. So that's another reason why it's, like, weird that these guys are, like, claiming that the uniforms are just, like, suspiciously right here, right behind the MRI machine.
Very conveniently, secretly behind the MRI machine. On the other side, we found a backpack with what appears to be very important intelligence, including a laptop, and we'll show you that momentarily. Let's go see the next room. So we're still in the MRI center. The backpack was found in here. and it was also hidden behind the MRI machine.
Yeah,
As you can
the
see,
guerrillas, the terrorists are very stupid and they don't know MRI is a big magnet.
the rest of the equipment here is proper hospital
Also, the laptop next to a big super magnet is also there. We found it.
equipment, right? Bandages and medical gear. It seems as if there's no real shortage because there's a lot of equipment
Oh,
here.
dude, they found medical gear in a hospital. That must mean there's no shortage of medical supplies. Ah! Ah! There's f***ing babies that have to be operated on without anesthesia. This guy opens up one bag and there's gauze in there. And he goes, well, there is no shortage.
Here, but we'll leave that for another discussion.
Okay, well, the video still exists here, so
The,
we'll just continue.
main corridor.
Imagine thinking that we can't watch the video. Oh, no. Oh, no. No! Okay, someone give me a re-upload right now. Re-upload right now. No shot!
Another MRI machine. Another MRI machine where behind it we also found contraband similar to what
Bro, they literally put things that could be destroyed by magnets directly behind a massive magnet. Why are they doing that? It's like there's so many other hiding places that you could put the weapons at. Like what do you mean? Like what is the argument here? Yeah, they put grenades and live ammunition next to a magnet.
And let's go see the last thing, which is more related to intelligence.
Yeah, by the way, can I just point to something here? I hope you guys understand. And this is the reason why I mentioned this before. None of what they're showing you justifies them bombing this hospital. So like the fact that they put this video out there and then deleted it doesn't even mean that this isn't a war crime. It's still very much a war crime to siege a hospital. So for a lot of dumb out there, the idea that you would hide in a hospital your weapons and your uniforms that you don't even use when you're fighting against the invading army, like the idea that you would put it behind an MRI machine rather than anywhere else in a hospital is so ridiculous.
Hold on, before we go on, let's have a look at what we found inside the very...
Whoa! Is that a WD-40? Dude, don't say it ain't so. Don't do that. Dude, that's... Dude, imagine if there are squeaky doors at the hospital. The most dangerous prospect. When your bomb-proof, when your blast-proof door gets squeaky and you use a WD-40, it's ooh.
Same cabinet that houses medical equipment. You can see all kinds of standard military medical stuff. We found another go-to bag, this bag here. And again, we opened it up in order to make sure that it's safe to touch and show. So please don't give me any of that. You opened it up and you placed it there. This is...
He's arguing. He's arguing with people. He's arguing with people that are going to be like, dog, why did you do that?
The bag that we found, and this is the stuff that was in it. Now, there's insignia, military insignia, a knife.
I'm so glad that the Hamas guys were like, this is my Al-Qassam. This is my specific Al-Qassam magazine.
For those of you who read Arabic, you'll be able to understand what it says here. But it's Hamas, the military wing, Kataib al-Qassam, of course a vest with equipment, and as always an AK-47, standard gear, grab and go, which they thought would be a good place to store inside a hospital.
By the way, bombing a hospital isn't always a war crime, apparently. During the Geneva Conventions protect hospitals during war, but the safeguard isn't absolute. Yes, the standard that you have to be able to blow up a hospital is incredibly high. This article title makes it seem as though it is permissible. First of all, it's immoral no matter what. But the specifics of the matter, the fact that Hamas headquarters is located under Shifa has been Gaza's biggest open secret for over a decade. It's a military target shielded by a medical unit. That is a war crime. Bookmark this tweet for after the war. You're going to look very silly. It's like, dude, first of all, let me tell you something. I don't give a fuck if the Hamas headquarters are underneath the hospital, okay? You, under no circumstances, can blow up the hospital, okay? You can't do that. Anyway, this is where the cut is, I think. Yeah, see the no cut.
Thought would be a good place to store inside a hospital. And the last item, which I'm sure will be very interesting to analyze, is a laptop. We found it in the MRI room. This is how the laptop looks. I don't know who it belonged to. but now it is being analyzed by our intel people. Tactical radio communications, which we will analyze. Lots of disks, which will be analyzed. And a computer, which at first glance already provides a lot of incriminating evidence.
Wait.
This is Israeli Private Megidish, who was taken hostage by Hamas. She is home with her family because we were able to rescue her. But this picture was found on this computer in addition to...
Dude, they were just looking at it, dude. I can't believe they were just looking at it, dude. That's crazy. By the way, they don't protect their password protect their laptop found in the Hamas headquarters. They set up a PowerPoint on the laptop before taking this video. Pretty sure that will discredit this walkthrough.
Other interesting documents that will be processed, and we will use them in order to continue our fight.
It's crazy that they found he was right in the act, dude. My man was deep in the goon cave. Yeah, Capri Sun Poppy is correct, by the way. If that's a Lenovo T490, it does not have a CD drive. Anyway, Geneva Convention say hospitals have special status. So what exactly do the laws of war say about hospitals? There's a special protection saying civilian hospitals may in no circumstance be the objects of an attack, but should at all times be respected and protected by the parties of the conflict. However, the shield is not absolute. Legal scholars say a Hamas attack from a hospital could make it a military target, though not immediately. The Geneva Conventions add that the opposing side, in this case Israel, must give the hospital due warning and allow a reasonable time limit to see if the attack stops. And if any retaliation must be proportionate. A lone gunman firing from a hospital wouldn't give an army the right to destroy an entire building and harm large numbers of civilians, according to lawyers. I'm particularly worried about the risk of indiscriminate attacks because of the way the Israeli military is waging this war, said Bashi of Human Rights Watch. So finding a goddamn laptop in a hospital and a bunch of small arms inside of the MRI room for some weird reason still does not justify sieging the goddamn hospital. They struck this hospital, remember, with shells. So they're slowly looking through the different parts of the hospital, by the way. They're carrying out excavation operations now. So they didn't find anything reasonable that could justify their suspicions or make it legally permissible to blow up the hospital, which, by the way, it would still be a debate and one that I do not agree with regardless, even if there was a Hamas command center underneath the goddamn hospital, for the record. So just want to make sure that people understand. But yeah, Al-Shifa's emergency supervisor, we have not received any of what Israel claims about baby milk or incubators. The comical all caps medical supplies in English is very telling about the real targets of this propaganda. Israel cut off all food, water, and fuel and aid to Al-Shifa. Just remember that shit. The other problem here is that the Israeli military is, in a very cowardly way, refusing to send troops into tunnel structures that they do find. Part of the reason why is because they're worried about actually dying down there. Sometimes when they do send someone down there, they end up dying. But because they don't want to fucking send any troops down into the tunnel structures, because they might have booby traps in the tunnel structures, which has happened before, or they might have actual militants in the tunnel structures, the reason why they don't go down there is because they don't want any casualties. But if you justify blowing up a goddamn hospital on top of a tunnel structure, you have to inevitably go into the tunnel structure, especially if your goal is to militarily extract hostages. That is the whole point. Bro, are you for real? They have a lot of elite troops. What do you mean, am I for real? I know how they operate. What are you talking about? They very rarely go inside of the tunnels. They send a robot down there. They literally send a robot down there and they go, oh, we saw a door. Scary. Remember what they did with the other hospital, the much smaller one, where they said, there's a tunnel. We found a tunnel here. We don't know if the tunnel was like literally on the roof and it was an elevator shaft or not. Okay. It wasn't consistent with other Hamas tunnels that we've seen. And then what did they tell you? That the tunnel connected to the hospital. They never showed the hospital connection. They never showed the other side of the tunnel system. They literally just simply said, how do we know this? Well, it's because this tunnel that we found, this entrance to a tunnel that we found that looks like an elevator shaft or an elevator shaft or like a mechanical shaft of some sort. That actually, we sent a robot down there and the robot saw a door that looked to be in the direction of the hospital. That is an insane thing to claim. Like, you can't go down a service hatch and be like, well, there was a door down there and guess which direction the door was pointing to. But anyway, here's Eric Toller, New York Times Visual Investigations, previously Bellingcat. The IDF just released their first photos/videos from the Shifa hospital after last night's raid. I count 10 guns. The IDF has claimed that the beating heart of Hamas operations is beneath Shifa. Presumably, they'll release more photos and videos. The second photo is a box of dates that were confiscated and Qurans that have not been opened. Okay, just like, come on, dude. The IDF posted a few videos of their tour through the hospital. No tunnels, command centers, etc. can be found in any of these clips or pictures. Instead, focus on grab bags of some guns and body armor scattered around and a laptop next to CD-ROMs. Here's the IDF map of what they claim are Hamas complexes in Shifa Hospital. Insert all necessary caveats onto that. This mini tour was at the MRI compound. They were here. The IDF officer mentioned that there was no shortage of medical supplies when rifling through some objects at the MRI room. These are the medical supplies he was referring to. Some medical masks and something like icy hot. So the Pallywood is so crazy. Here's a good point as well. There were literally more weapons in Stephen Paddock's hotel room, but nobody in their right mind would have advocated dropping bombs on the Mandalay Bay. Good take. Anyway, this person, a writer for the Washington Post, is saying, judging by the amount of weapons they found at the Al-Shifa hospital so far in that now deleted video, they found more weapons on a random day in Iraq from an average cache than these guys did at the supposed headquarters of Hamas. Now, they might actually find more weapons, as he also mentions. Anyway, the point is, they haven't found enough arms to say that this is like the actual headquarters of anything, really. But maybe they'll find more. But regardless of how many weapons exist there, or whether or not there's literally a Hamas headquarters underneath it, that doesn't change the reality that you can't bomb above the Hamas headquarters when there's a hospital above the Hamas headquarters. IDF just reposted the video. Why did they delete it? They reposted it with like 18 seconds taken out. What is the 18 seconds that they took out? According to Elint News, and this is just in, the IDF says they have uncovered a Hamas tunnel in the Shifa hospital complex, and here is the video showing its entrance. This just in. Up until this very moment, and even now, I will maintain my skepticism given how much Israel has lied about every single thing thus far. This is the only thing that they've shown so far that points to anything pertaining to Hamas.
לאחר חיסוף עם D9 נמצא הפיר הזה באותה נקודה. ממש באותה נקודה שמצאנו את הרכב עם כל אמצעי הלחימה. כמו שאתם רואים, הבניין הקטרי, בסדר? בתוך...
I do not know where this fits into the actual geolocation of a tunnel. Let's take a look at that. Seems to be around here where it's where there's meant to be a building. So was this inside the structure, and what was the purpose for the building above ground? So this is where, I guess this is where the tunnel structure was found, next to this building or maybe underneath the building. It seems like they leveled the building and then bulldozed the surrounding area to expose this tunnel structure. What evidence would you need to see from the IDF to conclude the hospital is used by Hamas against international humanitarian law? I mean, the law is pretty clear here. An attacking party remains also bound by the obligation to take precautions in an attack, in particular, do everything feasible to avoid or at least minimize harm to patients and medical personnel who may have nothing to do with those acts and whom the humanitarian consequences will be especially dire. But beyond that, they have to have infinite more evidence to be able to even justify striking in the direction of a hospital. In most circumstances, it cannot be a hospital that is operating in the capacity of a hospital. It can be a hospital building that used to be a hospital that people are shooting out of, in which case that is pretty much the only legally permissible instance where you can strike in the vicinity of a hospital or strike at a hospital. That's it. As long as there are medical personnel on site and a shit ton more civilians than what you consider to be Hamas militants, the evidence in that circumstance does not fit international humanitarian law. In order for it to be debatable, you have to have more enemy combatants, or at least an overwhelming amount of enemy combatants that are directly utilizing the hospital to shoot. Finding a couple guns and grenades inside of the hospital after you have sieged it is not enough evidence to siege a hospital. It doesn't work that way. Which is why when you say stuff like, well, there's a building next to the hospital where we found one of the hostages, or any number of things such as that, do not mean that you can blow up a hospital, attack a hospital, siege a hospital in general. These are considered war crimes. None of it has made sense thus far, including showing that there was a laptop, including showing boxes of dates and a Quran, and being like, this is all the Hamas stuff that we found in the hospital, and then turning around and showing a laptop that doesn't even have a CD-ROM reader, but then showing it next to like a bunch of CDs and being like, well, this is all the scary, look at all the Palestinians and their scary terror stuff. Watches the LTC Res Jonathan Concurious exposes countless Hamas weapons and IDF troops. So you forgot to blur your laptop in your initial post because it exposed it being an IDF laptop, huh? And then they hid this reply for some reason. except I don't even know if this was an IDF laptop or not. But this doesn't prove anything. Like they were trying to say that like Hamas militants were using their Lenovo laptop that is not even password protected, and they were just like looking at one of the Israeli hostages that was a part of the IDF. Like they were looking at a photo of her. Like it made no sense whatsoever. They're so scared of Arabs they couldn't even plant a laptop with an Arabic keyboard. Left Arabic ThinkPad, right Hebrew ThinkPad. In the Arabic one, the Arabic letters are written next to the English letters. In the Hebrew one, the Hebrew letters are bottom right hand side of the English letters. Wait, really? I mean, I don't know. I have not seen a... Yeah, Eric Toller made short work of a lot of this. The BBC visited the MRI building in the Al-Shifa hospital as well. It mentions that a laptop had photos and videos of hostages. The photo was the one on display and later redacted when the IDF reposted the video, but it was a publicly available image of Ori Megiddish. The same two guns appeared for the Fox News report are present for the BBC as well. These guns were not in the spot during the initial walkthrough of the location by an IDF officer, which was done hours before Fox and the BBC arrived. They staged it again. Good note here, the boots may have been moved back to the MRI machine after being in the photo op with all the weapons, grenades, and dates lined up. The IDF dug in the northeast corner of the Shifa hospital complex to find this tunnel a few meters deep. It was located right next to the street, Ibn Sina, and leads towards the southeast. That's what we have so far. We posted, I looked through this thread already. This is from Eric Toller. He's really good. He's a New York Times visual investigations guy, previously Bellingcat. I like him. I think he's very consistent and very good on a lot of this stuff. But yeah, this was their first release. None of this, of course, is enough to justify like going into the hospital, blowing up the hospital, yada, yada, yada. The second photo has a box of dates that were confiscated, which was ridiculous. The IDF posted a few videos of their tour of the hospital. No tunnels, command centers, etc. to be found in any of these clips or pictures. Instead, focus on grab bags of some guns and body armor scattered around and laptop next to CD-ROMs. Here's the IDF map of what they claim are Hamas complexes at the Shifa hospital. Insert all necessary caveats onto that. CNN edited out the terror calendar part of their video, by the way. No retraction, no apology. Just quietly deleted that part. Yeah, that's also ridiculous that like CNN is just like lapping up whatever the they're saying and then deleting certain parts of it from their coverage and not even offering like legitimate retractions. Like whenever the IDF is shown to be lying about something, they just go, oh, oops, all right, well, no one saw that, so it's fine. Here, CNN quietly cut disputed Israeli military claim from some video reports. Controversial claim by military spokesperson were cut without an editor's note from versions of the CNN website, YouTube channel, and on-air reports. After Israeli armed forces shut down a children's hospital in Gaza last week, a spokesperson for the country's military gave tours to members of the international press, taking time to show them something that he argued was evidence of Israel's claim that the hospital in the Palestinian enclave may have been used to hold hostages taken by Hamas in an October 7 attack. A calendar. In an Israeli government video, Daniel Hagari, a spokesperson for the IDF, called it a guarding list, where every terrorist writes his name and every terrorist has his own shift guarding the people that were here. Hamas denied the claim, and skeptics pointed out that the document was simply a list of dates and days of the week since October 7th under the title Al-Aqsa Flood Battle, Hamas's name of the attack, along with the October 7th date, including no names of guards or anyone else. Eventually, Israel backtracked somewhat. A spokesperson acknowledged the translation error in Hagari's statement and notably said that the video is a remark distributed to media outlets had been corrected. So let me ask you this. If you're seeing a shit ton of these like naysaying, weirdo, drama farming political commentators out there who keep coming in here with their brigades of psychopathic fans and saying, Hasan, remember when you got this detail wrong when I had not, and that it's simply a clip chimp. And then they are awfully quiet about the incredibly well-documented, incredibly consistent lies that the Israeli government has told, and the fact that the media is just uncritically repeating said lies. And the fact that they're not saying anything about that, but instead trying to catch a Twitch streamer who might have misspoken over the course of 10 hours without making any good faith effort to understand what the overarching statements are. I think you basically understand where people are coming from and what their genuine interests are. The interests are not about the truth. The interests are not about like advancing any kind of like genuine political perspective that you care about. It's just simply to say, well, this guy is bad, and we're just going to try and continue that narrative as best as possible. CNN's international diplomatic editor Nick Robertson's full report from the Al-Rantisi hospital included Robertson announcing that more evidence, Hagari says, points towards Hamas and possible hostage presence below the hospital. The CNN then showed Hagari making a statement about the guarding list. The clip made the rounds this week, while critics saying it showed CNN had given too much space to the Israeli military's claims. Here it is, by the way, on CNN.
List. Every terrorist has his own shift.
In this room, he says, a guard list that begins October 7th, ends November 3rd, not long before the hospital was evacuated.
That, as far as I understand, has been taken, that has been clipped out. It was in this room where he points to the calendar, because the calendar is in this
the
room,
normal-
and they just like quietly cut this part out of their video without any retractions whatsoever. I mean, at that point, you're doing they've openly admitted that they're doing propaganda for the IDF, okay? They said that the only way that they can get any kind of on-the-ground coverage and on-the-ground reporting is if they are embedded as a part of the IDF, and the IDF will and has and will continue to go through every footage that they film and has final say on what gets posted. Sometimes that final say ends up uncritically repeating whatever the dumb propaganda is. And when they find out that that dumb propaganda is falsified instantaneously, there's no fact checking done at CNN either, by the way. What, did you not have a single person that speaks Arabic? Like, are you out of your mind? You're not even doing that? You're not even going through this? You're not even going to see for yourself something that like random Twitter users can find out? You don't have anyone to like fact check? Here, IDF releases an image showing a Hamas tunnel underneath Rantisi Hospital in the Gaza Strip. This was from the robot, by the way. I think this is the robot footage, isn't it? They showed this already. Like, they only showed this on a laptop, but I don't think they actually went down there. But this is what they said was the reason why they believed this to be a tunnel structure with an ominous door that the robot found that was pointing in the direction of the Rantisi Hospital. They also did not show a tunnel structure that connects inside of the Rantisi Hospital either. This is the older footage. Of course, they won't go in. That's a death trap going in, probably. Brother, I'm sorry, but it's on you to prove this before you make these accusations and also follow those accusations with violent actions. There is no, I'm sorry, my soldiers are too scared. I'm just a small bean in this circumstance. Like that's ridiculous. You have to prove it before you even take action, not try and prove it after you take the action and then go, oopsie, well, I guess we found a door, but we still can't go down there. Like, what is going on? I know a lot of people will, if they find anything that amounts to a tunnel structure, like a lot of people will turn around and use that to be like, see, we told you, it's totally valid. Make no mistake, I do not believe it's valid at all. Even if there is a tunnel structure underneath the hospital, it still does not mean that you can blow up the hospital on top of it. Doesn't mean that you can kill the doctors on top of the hospital. That is ridiculous. And make no mistake, they said that this was like literally the Hamas headquarters. And so far, they've shown zero evidence that amounts to this being the Hamas headquarters at all. Anyway, like I said, they deleted that. Those weren't the only changes. The version of the report columns posted online includes a comment from Robertson after Hagari displays a handful of guns and explosives purportedly found in the hospital. Hagari says he can show us evidence they found a lot more, but this is what they made safe for our visit, Robertson says. The longer version of that report also includes Hagari's claims about the IDF offering to help evacuate the hospital, as well as his claims about bringing incubators into Gaza. In addition to the longer version, the report includes Hagari's accusation that Hamas was holding hostages in a children's hospital. None of these claims are included in the versions of the report. This was also another claim that they made. They said that Hamas was holding hostages in the hospital. They've lied so consistently and so much that they flood the market with so many inconsistent and outright incorrect statements that I sometimes have a hard time keeping up with it. And I try to do my very best to at least deliver to you what they're saying truthfully. Ridiculous stuff overall. Yeah, this is a really funny one. In Beit Hanun, they found Hamas placed rockets inside a little girl's bed and anti-tank missiles inside a baby stroller.
חדר שכתוב עליו בייבי גרל, כמובן. מתחת למיטה של הבייבי גרל יש לנו פה ערימות של רקטות. מתחת למיטה בכל הבית סך הכל מצאנו גם עוד פגזים ועוד תחמושת ועוד המון נשקים.
מטענים.
חגורת נפץ, ערכת הפעלה, נשק קצר. סלולר, ערימות של אמל"ח.
That's it. Are these videos manipulated? I don't know. Maybe they're using the baby bed as a way to stash missiles. Maybe. They're trying to justify their ruthless slaughter with post hoc rationalizations that like, look, we found a copy of Mein Kampf in a child's living room. We found missiles inside of a kid's bed. Why are they doing that? Well, because, that's the reason why some children have died. Also, make no mistake, the numbers of casualties that you have seen from the Gazan health ministry that is backed by Hamas is also probably fake. Please. I don't know. I think that that's like ridiculous, especially because like at this point, I will 100% admit it is virtually impossible for me to sit here. It would be genuinely inappropriate for me to look at what Israel says and unconditionally repeat it to you. It would be malpractice if an organ of the government has so regularly lied every fucking day for the past month and a half as it is engaging in an ethnic cleansing campaign that they've openly said they're engaging in. And the media that refuses to genuinely verify this information and also repeat it uncritically, and then maybe even quietly delete it when they find that it's not true without even retractions or apologies. If I were to look at this and tell you, yeah, I believe everything the IDF is saying, it's probably true, I would be wrong. I would be in the wrong. You take everything Hamas is saying and uncritically repeat it. No, I don't. I do not, as a matter of fact. Not even a little bit. One, there is not that much information coming out of Hamas to begin with. You are racist. You are. You want me to tell you why you're racist? Not that you give a shit. You think when I listen to a doctor at Al-Shifa or a Doctors Without Borders person in Al-Shifa or in any number of other hospitals, you think that's Hamas. That's the difference. That's it. This is something that is unforgivable, by the way. The fact that the Israeli officials 5 hours ago said that there's no further evidence of Hamas activities in the hospital that was scheduled to be made public for now. The search of Israeli forces in Gaza's largest hospital stretched into a second day Thursday amid the wait for more concrete evidence of extensive Hamas infrastructure at the facility that precipitated the raid. Israel also said no further evidence of Hamas activities in the hospital was scheduled to be made public for now, following the release of Wednesday of photographs and video showing small caches of rifles and laptops of the IDF identified as Hamas material, which was ridiculous. The military did not show extensive or show evidence of the tunnels or a command center that it says exists under the hospital. I can now confirm that the operation is still ongoing. All publishable evidence was released. I do, of course, maintain a ton of skepticism. All the IDF claims made thus far in its offensive campaign in the siege of both the Al Ahli Hospital, the Al-Shifa Hospital, many other Rantisi, and many other hospitals in just the Gaza Strip in general. It would be malpractice for me as a even dumb Twitch himbo who happens to do political commentary. It would be malpractice for me to not tell you that these guys have lied a lot. Okay? It's ridiculous. It would be untrue if I didn't tell you that. And it would be ridiculous for me not to be critical and assume that there's a likelihood that this might also be a lie.